curing isolation and avoidance. So, if you've ever watched the Nature Channel, you can see how lions stalk their prey. And a pack of lions will actually follow a herd of wildebeests for a long stretch, just watching. But what exactly are they looking for? Well, if they were just to try to attack the herd, they wouldn't be very successful because the wildebeest have a way of being able to defend themselves using their horns. So, as a group, they're not vulnerable. But if the lions wait for the right opportunity, they can catch one isolated from the pack. So, what they're looking for is a wildebeest that starts to stray behind, one that's weak, one that's sick, one that's young or old, and for whatever reason starts to get away from the pack. At this point, they can pounce and attack as a group and pull down that one beast, bring it down as their prey, and that beast doesn't have much of a defense because it's not with the pack, it's not with the group. So, in a similar way, human predators look for those that are weak, that are isolated. They are searching for the isolated. Keep that in mind. Complex trauma survivors often feel like they don't know how to keep themselves safe emotionally in relationships, in interacting with people, in their social life. And so they come up with ideas such as avoiding people or isolating themselves, avoiding opportunities to feel safe. They figure, well, if I'm alone, then maybe I won't get abused. If I'm alone, then maybe I won't get hurt. Maybe I won't get rejected. If I isolate myself, then maybe by staying away from people, I can finally be safe. This is a flaw in their thinking. It's understandable why they may come up with this idea, but isolation and avoidance is not the best way to keep oneself safe. It actually makes you more vulnerable to attack. For instance, Jessica, and this is a true story, but I'll change some details. Jessica was an isolator. She was an avoider. She has been through tons of abuse in her past. She's been with narcissists and psychopaths and everything in between, and she doesn't want to get used and taken advantage of anymore. So she came up with the idea that she's just going to stay away from people. So she doesn't really associate with anyone. She just goes to work, she goes home. That's it. She doesn't really do a lot of going out, meeting new people. As a result, her social circle shrinks. She has a couple friends, but in her shrunken circle, it's really just a day to day, day in, day out, her being alone. And this is supposed to keep her safe, but it also makes her feel lonely. She proclaims herself as celibate. She's no longer having sexual relationships with men. And now she feels like, okay, maybe I've got something here to keep myself safe. I give up on relationships. Well, at work, she's assigned a trainer, and this trainer is experienced and starts working with her. And it's a man, and he's very attractive. Okay, ladies, please understand. He is exceptionally attractive. His muscles have muscles. Okay. I need you to understand this. He isn't the normal, regular old dude. Okay. And now she's working one on one with him. He's telling her what she needs to do. They start to work, like there's a bond between them. There's a little bit of chemistry. And he, believe it or not, shows interest in her. And she's just normal. She would describe herself as regular degular. And here's this guy who's very attractive and he's showing interest in her. And so when he asks for her contact information, she does share because she's like, well, I mean, this is kind of exceptional. I don't know where this is going to go. Also, I've been feeling very lonely over the past 3 years. basically not dating and being celibate, and it's been a really long time, and this guy seems to be interested. Maybe this is an answer to a prayer. Maybe this is the universe finally doing for me what I need it to do, because through my method of isolating myself, I've maybe this person by breaking through is someone special. Maybe they're the one, so that when he texts her, her heart starts fluttering. She feels all the chemicals inside, and she's like, "Man, I really must feel something for this guy." And the conversation ensues. Well, soon enough, they do go out, and soon enough, she does go become intimate with him. And like I said, it's muscles on muscles, ladies. This is an exceptional situation. This guy is very, very attractive. And long story short, she finds herself in the bed with a psychopath. Now, when I say a psychopath, in this case, I don't mean he was mean or narcissistic. In fact, for the most part, he wasn't really that mean. It's just that his past is a little bit sketchy because he did recently get out of prison. Okay, let's not judge. He did get out of prison, but that doesn't define his character. But the thing he's in prison for is attempted manslaughter. So he was trying to kill someone, and he got something like 15 years or whatever. He wasn't successful this time. He has killed people before, which in a conversation he's mentioned, but it was a rough past, right? So, anyhow, he's a psychopath, and she's in bed with him. And now it's at this stage in life that she decides maybe I should get on the phone with Roman, because I'm kind of thinking I might have fell back into the same trap again, and I don't know what I did wrong. So let's review the footage. She was trying to keep herself safe from this, so she wasn't talking to men, and she proclaimed herself as celibate, and she wasn't going out, and she was just going to work, and she was just living her life, going home, watching movies by herself. How did she end up back with another predator again? This man lacks empathy, he lacks accountability, and he actually has killed people before and tried. Okay? So, hmm, what happened here? Do you guys know what happened? Do you guys know where we went wrong? Well, what do you think Roman said when she got on the phone with him? Of course, I told her isolating yourself doesn't keep you safe. Avoidance is not the way to be able to evade the predators. If anything, the healthy men who come across you at work, in the gym, at school, will sense that you're not well and that you're avoidant, and will respect your boundaries. They will give you the space that you seem to want. The predators will sense that you're isolated and desperate and not well and alone and have no one, and they will pounce. They will come in and encroach. So, my recommendation to you and to all of us here is that we avoid avoidance and stop isolating ourselves. It does not help you to heal, and it certainly doesn't keep you safe from predators. It does just the opposite. It opens you up to be more of a savory target to the predators. So, how do we do it then? What are we supposed to be doing? Well, instead of living in fear, we want to live in love. So, you want to run your gas tank not on the fuel of fear. Oh my God, something could happen, something could happen, something. Yes, of course, something could happen. Yeah. But staying safe is not avoiding the possibility of something happening. Staying safe is having the mechanisms in place that allow you to do the activity in a way that mitigates the risk. It's the mechanisms in place. For instance, your car has safety belts and airbags, right? And a steel frame. These are mechanisms in place to mitigate the risk instead of you just saying, I'm not going to get in a vehicle anymore. So now you have to live in the 1700s while the rest of us are able to zip around town and do whatever we want. And you're like, I don't ride in vehicles because they're too dangerous. I only walk and take horseback. See how that's not right? You're so risk adverse that you're prioritizing your safety above success. You're just living a fear-driven life. And that's barely living at all. That's just surviving, right? So instead of taking the extreme of having no vehicle, or in this case, having no friends and no social activity and no boyfriends and not talking to any men, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have friends and we're going to socialize and we're going to make connections with both men and women, but we're going to have safety mechanisms installed. And the safety mechanisms will keep us safe, such as high standards, vetting, and boundaries. Along with boundaries comes the skills of assertiveness and the skills of enforcing boundaries. These are safety mechanisms. And that's what allows us to go out and to interact into the world, whether we are man or woman. We can open ourselves up for connection. Now, if she had taken this advice and she went out and she had her standards and she was vetting and she has her boundaries and her assertiveness and her ability to enforce boundaries, how might this have looked different? Well, instead of her just only being at home, only being alone, she would continue her social life. She would join social groups, in fact. She would even seek out opportunities to make connections. When she met people in restaurants, online, on dating apps, on social media, in person, at work, and in the gym, if there seems an opportunity for a connection, she would seek that connection. Not with any sense of desperation, but more with a sense of abundance because she's living her life success driven, love driven. And this allows her to be bold and to take risks, to strike up conversation. Hey, I like your shoes. Hey, that's a really cool shirt. Sometimes this will lead to a good connection. Most of the time, not, because most people aren't going to be this amazing match for her. And occasionally, some people she's going to realize she doesn't like, or she's going to see things that are not good signs, like that they have a record of attempted murder, right? That would be something she might come across and then say, I think maybe I'll vet that person out because I have standards. And I think one of my standards for me personally is that I don't want to be around someone who unremorsefully has unalived people and continue and you know what I mean? Like she might just say, I have standards and that person doesn't meet my standards, right? How might this have fared differently if she had an abundance of people in her religious community, abundance of friends at work, an abundance of friends at home, and she's open to making connections? She had guys that she was talking to that she met online and that she met on dating apps that she was vetting, and she's doing a vetting process. So there's maybe 4 or 5 guys within a week or two that she's sending messages back and forth. And now her trainer at work, he's got muscles on top of muscles. He's very handsome. And then they are striking some kind of rapport, and then he makes advances. How might this have been different? Well, maybe she would still think he was attractive. Maybe she would still share her contact information. But when he texts her, would she have been as vulnerable to that text message? Would she have felt like she needed to fall into an immediate relationship? Would she have been as easy to sway and to capture? Likely not. She would have looked at this as another potential connection of which she has an abundance. She would have used her mechanisms, such as her high standards, and compared him against her high standards, and she would have vetted. Vetting is interviewing a person for a position, evaluating a person for a position. And so she would have been looking at it more like, well, I'm vetting 2 or 3 other guys right now. I'll put him in the queue and vet him as well. That's the way to look at him. And then as you do that, you're not only comparing him to the other candidates, you're looking at his actual qualifications. You say you were in jail for what exactly? Hmm, interesting. Do you feel like you have empathy for people? Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. And do you tend to take it? And do you have anger issues? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, you've been diagnosed with ASPD. You're a diagnosed sociopath. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good to know this. Good to know this. Okay, thank you very much. I'll be in touch. In other words, she won't be in touch. Why? Because she went about the situation not from an emotional place of desperation, but from a centered place of personal power. She was not desperate because she was not isolating. She was not desperate because she was not avoiding, thinking that that was going to keep herself safe. Instead, she was taking many risks. In fact, he was a risk as well, but the mechanisms mitigated the risk. What were those mechanisms? She's got standards, a lot of them written down. Boundaries are your ability to recognize discomfort and then to create a rule or a limitation. That's where your boundaries come from. They come from your discomfort. This is the time to finally listen to the feelings. That's where boundaries are born. I don't say that much. We don't get to follow the feelings much. So when your feelings tell you that you don't like something, that you're uncomfortable with something, that something bothers you, that's a good time to pay attention to those feelings, to have a conversation with yourself, such as, I feel unpleasant right now. What's going on? Oh, I don't like the joke that that woman made about me. Interesting. Okay. Well, what should I do about that? Because I don't want to continue to feel this way. Well, I need to protect myself, advocate for my needs. So I need to either A, assert a boundary by telling her something, a rule or a limitation that I create, such as, hey, if you're going to be around me, please don't tell jokes like that, or please don't talk about me that way. Or I might decide to enforce my boundary by just moving away from this woman, staying away from her, not associating with her. Now, what have I done? I'm creating a safe environment. I'm changing the world around me to be safe for me. So now either I have a new friend who knows how to act and behave around me, or I just stay away from that one particular person and I keep myself safe that way. Boundaries, assertiveness, enforcement. How do we enforce our boundary? That's different than asserting a boundary. How do we enforce a boundary? Does anyone have the answer here? Anybody been taking boundary school inside healing school? We got one person says walking away. That is correct. That would be a correct way of enforcing boundaries. Put this in your notes, guys. Enforcing boundaries means that you remove access to your resources. Put that in your notes, and you need to memorize this. Enforcing boundaries means that you remove access to your resources. Your resources are your time, your energy, your beauty, your body, your talents, your material goods, your house, your car, your children, your dogs, everything you have that's yours, your personal space, your talents and skills, it's all your resources. So when you decide you need to enforce a boundary, which is going to be usually after someone's violated a boundary, and a lot of times after we've already asserted a boundary, and that means you're going to remove access to your resources. So that means if you're out in public with them, you're going to move away from them. If they refuse to move away from you, you are able to call the authorities, the police, because they're not afraid, they're not allowed to stick with you when you're telling them to go away from you. Does that make sense? If you're at their house, you're going to leave their house, right? You're going to move away from these people, remove access to your resources. If they're in your house or in your car, then you will ask them to leave your house or leave your car. If they refuse, then you will call the police. Even if it's your mom, yes, even if it's your mom, even if it's your dad. If it's not their house, then they don't have a legal right to be there. If they do have a legal right to be there, because it is their house as well, then you need to go get your own house. That might take a little more time, but you still need to enforce your boundaries. So even if it takes a few months, no difference. Still need to get away from them. Still need to enforce your boundaries. Make sense? So enforcing your boundaries is removing access to your resources. Can you see how that keeps you safe? These mechanisms keep us safe. High standards, enforcement of boundaries. What if they don't respect my boundary? No problem. I enforce it. All of my enforcement is backed by law. So nobody can stop me. Does that make sense? So we're not keeping ourselves safe by avoiding relationships. Instead, you should actually seek connections and you should vet through people. Understand that when you're vetting through people, they're just basically acquaintances or at best friends. At best, you're not romantically involved with them yet. That's not how you vet through people. You vet through people before you become emotionally involved. In the case of Jessica, she didn't vet this guy before she became emotionally involved, did she? She did what most women do. Guys do this too, but this is especially a problem for women because of how vulnerable they are for intimate partner violence. She followed the feelings. She mistakenly thought that when she felt flutters inside of her body when he texted her, that that meant that she must feel something for him. Many people, especially women, conclude that when he doesn't text for a while and she feels herself getting upset, when she hasn't heard from him for a while and she feels herself getting upset, when she gets in a fight with him and her emotions are getting involved, they conclude that that must mean they're feeling love. They've fallen in love. They've fallen for this man. And they feel that that must mean something. There must be some meaning to these feelings that I'm feeling. And then they mistakenly follow those feelings. So I'm here to help you to erase all of that. Just because you feel upset that someone isn't texting or has texted, or upset that someone is paying attention or is not paying attention, that doesn't mean that you've discovered some special mystical connection between you and another person. It might just mean that they're disturbing your peace because they're violating your values. Again, when you feel negative feelings, it doesn't mean that you're in love and then that you have to follow that love and this is a special bond. No, it probably just means that the person's doing something to violate your values, which means they're disturbing your peace. And so if you go back to your standards, you might realize that this doesn't live up to the standards that you set for yourself of who you want to be, how you want to live. A good question to just ask is this the way I want to feel for the rest of my life? Ask that question about your current relationship, how this person is making you feel, the way they're texting or not texting, whatever it is. Do I want to feel this way for the rest of my life? If the answer is no, this might not be the relationship that you're looking for. It's not meeting your standards. Sometimes we don't discover that there's a boundary or a standard until we're actually in the situation feeling the violation. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to the feeling, the violation, the discomfort, the disease. And yes, be logical rather than following the emotions. There's nothing special about the chemicals in your body. It's not a mystical connection to the universe, to the divine that's leading you on a path to your soulmate. That's not what feelings in your body are. Feelings in your body are chemicals, and then you have electrical impulses in your brain that are giving you perceptions of what these chemicals mean. That's all it is, just hormones, male or female. That's all it is. That's all the feelings are, just hormones. It's powerful, it's real, the feelings are real, but it's not like a mystical divine, oh, this is what I need to follow. No, no, no. No, 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 no. You are a human being made in the image of the divine, you have conscious reasoning. This means that you have an ability to sit back on your throne and to gather all of the data, all of the evidence. That's conscious reasoning, to take your time. You can get a text message on your phone, and you can put the phone down. You don't have to respond right away. You can ask yourself some questions. Gathering the data about this person, looking at it logically. Is this the type of person that I'm really looking for? Do they meet all the standards? Looking at the past, looking at the present, looking at the future. I know I feel feelings, but those are hormones. So if I just wait 45 seconds, these will start to dissipate. And they do. Give it 45 seconds and you'll be surprised how different you will feel 1 minute to the next minute just by breathing and sitting still. Oh, wow. I'm glad I took those 45 seconds because 45 seconds ago, I was about to crash out. Or 45 seconds ago, I was about to text this person back and be like, oh my God, and declare my love or ask them why they don't do more for me. This is making sense. You can sit on your throne, be in a position of power, and use conscious reasoning. If you do that, and you're in abundance rather than scarcity, you're in power rather than desperation. Instead of isolating, you're connecting with people. Instead of avoiding, you're confronting your fears, the fears of being rejected, the fears of being hurt. You're taking risks, but it's mitigated by the mechanisms you have in place. This is what puts you in a position to really be safe, to move through the world, no longer vulnerable, no longer in the cycle of becoming prey again and becoming prey again and becoming prey again, barely escaping with your life and your well-being every time. It's not sustainable. That is not sustainable. Stop isolating. Stop avoiding. Stop living according to fear and other feelings. And start getting in touch with your personal power. Your power to pause, to analyze, to think. Your power to allow hormones and emotions to wash through. Your power to choose. Your power to choose who will get access to your resources. That's a big deal. There's no way you should find yourself in the bed with a man and then realize, oh, he doesn't meet basic qualifications. I really could have eliminated him based on if I just would have taken the time to vet before I had feelings for him. Don't do that to yourself. So we cure our isolation and our avoidance by fueling ourselves with love. So let's do that from now on. Let's make that our priority. Okay?